Welcome, kind listener. My name is Gentle Fox. You may not know me now, but by the end of this masterpiece, you will, and I trust you'll think of me as an old friend. What you'll be hearing tonight is an excerpt from our Twitch stream. I hope you'll enjoy that extra ambiance and my soft-spoken voice as we explore Leo Tolstoy's classic, Anna Karenina. Chapter 25. So you see, Nikolai Levine went on with effort, wrinkling his brow and twitching. It was obviously hard for him to think what to say and do. You see, he pointed at some small iron bars tied with string in the corner of the room. See that? That's the beginning of a new business we're undertaking. This business is a manufacturing association. Constantine was almost not listening. He peered into his brother's sickly, consumptive face, felt more and more sorry for him, and was unable to make himself listen to what his brother was telling him about the association. He could see that this association was only an anchor, saving him from despising himself. Nikolai Levine went on speaking. You know that capital presses the worker. The workers in our country, the muzhiks, bear all the burdens of labor, and their position is such that, however much they work, they can never get out of their brutish situation. All the profits earned by their work, with which they might improve their situation, give themselves some leisure, and consequently education. All surplus earnings are taken from them by the capitalists, and society has developed so that the more they work, the more gain they will be for the merchants and landowners, and they will always remain working brutes. And this order must be changed, he concluded, and looked inquiringly at his brother. Yes, of course, said Constantine, studying the red patches that had appeared below his brother's prominent cheekbones. And so we're organizing a metalworking association, in which all production and profit, and above all the tools of production, will be common property. Where will the association be located? Asked Constantine Levine. In the village of Rozdrioma, Kazan province. Why in a village? I think there's enough to do in the villages without that. Why have a metalworking association in a village? Because the muzhiks are just as much slaves now as they were before, and that's why you and Sergei Ivanitch don't like it that we want to bring them out of the slavery, Nikolai Levine said, annoyed by the objection. Constantine Levine sighed, at the same time looking around the dismal and dirty room. This sigh seemed to annoy Nikolai still more. I know the aristocratic views you and Sergei Ivanitch have. I know that he employs all his mental powers to justify the existing evil. No, why do you talk about Sergei Ivanitch? Said Levine, smiling. Sergei Ivanitch, here's why. Nikolai Levine cried out suddenly as the name of Sergei Ivanitch. Here's why. But what's there to talk about? Nothing but... Why did you come to see me? You despise all this, and that's wonderful. So go. Go with God, he shouted, getting up from his chair. Go, go! I don't despise it in the least, Constantine Levine said timidly. I'm not even arguing. Just then Maria Nikolaevna came back. Nikolai Levine gave her an angry glance. She quickly went over to him and whispered something. I'm not well. I've become irritable, Nikolai Levine said, calming down and breathing heavily. And then you tell me about Sergei Ivanitch and his article. It's such nonsense, such lies, such self-deception. What can a man write about justice if he knows nothing of it? Have you read his article? He asked Kritsky, sitting down at the table again and pushing aside some half-filled cigarettes so as to clear a space. No, I haven't. Kritsky said glumly, obviously unwilling to enter the conversation. Why not? Nikolai Levine now turned to Kritsky with irritation. Because I don't find it necessary to waste time on it. Excuse me, but how do you know you'd be wasting your time? The article is inaccessible to many. That is, it's above them. But with me, it's a different matter. I can see through his thought, and I know why it's weak." Everyone fell silent. Kritsky slowly got up and took his hat. "You won't have supper? Well, goodbye. Come tomorrow with a metal worker." As soon as Kritsky left, Nikolai Levin smiled and winked. "He is also in a bad way," he said. "I do see." But just then Kritsky called him from the door. "What does he want now?" he said, and went out to him in the corridor. Left alone with Maria Nikolaevna, Levin turned to her. "Have you been with my brother long?" he asked her. "It's the 2nd year now. His health's gone really bad. He drinks a lot." "Drinks? Meaning what?" "He drinks vodka, and it's bad for him." "Really a lot?" Levin whispered. "Yes," she said, glancing timidly at the doorway in which Nikolai Levin appeared. "What were you talking about?" he said, frowning, his frightened eyes shifting from one to the other. "What was it?" "Nothing," Konstantin replied, embarrassed. "If you don't want to say, then don't. Only there's no need for you to talk with her. She's a slut, and you're a gentleman," he said, his eyes twitching. "I see you've understood and appraised everything, and look upon my errors with regret," he began again, raising his voice. "Nikolai Dmitrich, Nikolai Dmitrich," Maria Nikolaevna whispered, going up to him. "Well, all right. And what about supper? Here it is," he said, seeing a lackey with a tray. "Here, put it here," he said angrily, and at once took the vodka, poured a glass, and drank it greedily. "Want a drink?" he asked his brother, cheering up at once. "Well, enough about Sergei Ivanitch. Anyhow, I'm glad to see you. Say what you like, we're not strangers. Well, have a drink. Tell me, what are you up to?" he went on, greedily chewing a piece of bread and pouring into the glass. "How's your life going?" "I live alone in the country, as I did before, busy with farming," Konstantin replied, looking with horror at the greediness with which his brother ate and drank, and trying not to let it show. "Why don't you get married?" "Haven't had a chance," Konstantin replied, blushing. "Why not?" "For me, it's all over. I've spoiled my life. I've said and still say that if I'd been given my share when I needed it, my whole life would be different." Konstantin Dmitrich hastened to redirect the conversation. "You know, your Vanyushka works in my office in Pokrovsko," he said. Nikolai twitched his neck and fell to thinking. "So tell me, how are things in Pokrovsko? Is the house still standing, and the birches, and our schoolroom? And Philip the gardener, is he still alive? However, remember the gazebo and the bench. Watch out you don't change anything in the house, but get married quickly and arrange it again just as it used to be. I'll come to visit you then, if you have a nice wife." "Come to visit me now," said Levin. "We'll settle in so nicely." "I'd come if I knew I wouldn't find Sergei Ivanitch there." "You won't find him there. I live quite independently from him." "Yes, but say what you like. You've got to choose between me and him," he said, looking timidly into his brother's eyes. This timidity touched Konstantin. "If you want my full confession in that regard, I'll tell you that in your quarrel with Sergei Ivanitch, I don't take either side. You're both wrong. You are wrong more externally, and he more internally." Ah, you've grasped that. You've grasped that?" Nikolai cried joyfully. "But if you wish to know, I personally value my friendship with you more, because—" "Why? Why?" Konstantin could not say that he valued it more because Nikolai was unhappy and in need of friendship, but Nikolai understood that he wanted to say precisely that, and, frowning, resorted to his vodka again. "Enough, Nikolai Dmitrich," said Maria Nikolaevna, reaching out with her plump, bare arm for the decanter. "Let go. Don't interfere, I'll beat you," he cried. Maria Nikolaevna smiled her meek and kindly smile, which also infected Nikolai, and took away the vodka. "You think she doesn't understand anything?" Nikolai said. "She understands everything better than any of us. There's something sweet and good in her, isn't there?" "You've never been to Moscow before, miss," Constantine said to her, so as to say something. "Don't call her miss. She's afraid of it. No one except the justice of the peace when she stood trial for wanting to leave the house of depravity. No one ever called her miss. My God, what is all this nonsense in the world?" he suddenly cried out. "These new institutions, these justices of the peace, the Zemstvo, what is this outrage?" And he started telling about his encounters with the new institutions. Constantine Levin listened to him, and that denial of sense in all social institutions which he shared with him, and had often expressed aloud, now seemed disagreeable to him coming from his brother's mouth. "We'll understand it all in the other world," he said jokingly. "In the other world? I don't like that other world. No, I don't," he said, resting his frightened, wild eyes on his brother's face. "And it might seem good to leave all this violence and confusion, other people's and one's own, but I'm afraid of death, terribly afraid of death." He shuddered. "Do drink something. Want champagne? Or else let's go somewhere. Let's go to the gypsies. You know I've come to have a great love of gypsies and Russian songs." His tongue began to get confused, and he jumped from one subject to another. Constantine, with Masha's help, persuaded him not to go anywhere, and put him to bed, completely drunk. Masha promised to write to Constantine in case of need, and to persuade Nikolai Levin to go and live with him.